welcome to today's conversation. My name is Nora from the Overture Maps Foundation. I'm here today with my colleagues Dana Bauer and Ryan Lopez, and we want to talk about how Overture Maps Foundation can create a new model for public-private partnership. So, Dana, Ryan, do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
I'll start. My name is Dana Bauer. I've been working with Overture Maps for about 2 years now as a technical product manager, which means I hang out with both engineering and product. I think of myself as a geographer, though. I just went into the tech industry to pay my bills. And I just want to say that coming to this conference is a little bit like landing on a different planet for us. We spend most of our time at tech conferences, so software developers. And for us, infrastructure means data infrastructure, databases, APIs. We don't really think about infrastructure as building things on the earth as much, but it's been really interesting talking to the folks here and trying to drill down into where they get the data when they're planning a particular project.
Thank you, Ryan.
Ryan, you're up.
Hey,
Hey.
I am Ryan Lopez. I'm a senior IT analyst with the county of Fresno in California. Excited to be here with you all, kind of telling the story of how we're all working together to kind of bridge that gap between the public agencies and private, of course, with Overture. So it's been exciting to be here and kind of be able to share that story, with my peers in the government sector. Yeah, it's been pretty exciting so far.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're glad you're here. Thank you so much
Thanks.
for being part of this.
Yeah.
So, when we talk about Overture Maps Foundation, it's a collaborative effort between the public sector, private sector, and globally. And our goal is to create this common foundation of open map data. So, apparently, Fresno County is a member. Before we get there, I want to just give our audience a little bit of overview, what Overture, what is Overture? What do we work on? Why does this matter? Dana.
I think of the Overture Maps Foundation as this strange beast. Maybe we could call it a platform or a container, but it's this space where big tech companies can collaborate with small tech companies, nonprofits, government agencies. Because our founding companies are Meta, Amazon, TomTom, and Microsoft, there's this perception that we're just a big tech organization. But that's not true. We are, as I said, a nonprofit. We're under the governance of the Linux Foundation. So we have all kinds of structures, strategies in place to create a level playing field for all of these different organizations, and to really try to inspire, true collaboration among them.
Thank you, Dana. So we know Fresno County is among is the first public sector that joined Overture. So Overture is about 3 years old now, but you've been joining for 2 years now.
Yeah.
So what made you join Overture Maps?
Yeah, it was once I understood exactly what Overture was, it was like an easy story, or it was an easy idea for me to want to join, to have us join, because all of us in government were consistently and constantly creating map data products. It's like our business, right? We create, like in Fresno County, I'm working public works and planning. So within the planning department, we're the addressing authority. So any new address that gets created in our county, we know about it first, which is great. But getting that data out to the world has always kind of been the challenge, right? We have to know where to submit it, or we have to make sure that we have an endpoint that's available publicly. And then I never understood the complexities about data licensing and all that. We don't understand that in government, right? So now being able to kind of lean on Overture and all the members here to kind of understand that. Now it's easier for me to kind of go back in my community and kind of spread the word of exactly like what Overture is and how this could help make this base map data extremely valuable. and that works for our taxpayers, for our citizens. Like I think they expect us to have our data out there in the world. That's not currently the case, but that is becoming the case, and that's what we're trying to make happen here, is to get that data out there. And as data changes, we want to make sure that that's flowing out into the world correctly. And I think that's the expectation that people put on us in government too. They want their data out there, because they want an Amazon package. They want, they want safety. They want all kinds of services come along with being shown on a map. That's just the world that we live in nowadays.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you talked about this, getting your government authoritative data out there.
Right.
Like, so you use Overture as a distribution channel for that. So
100%.
how does that work for you?
Yeah. So like, since we became a member, I'm now, I get to sit at the table with all these big companies, that are a part of Overture. And it's like, it's kind of twofold. Like it's like going to college, and seeing like I'm sure the curiosity is there. Like, how do these big tech companies operate and work together? And it's amazing. It's cool. It's cool to watch and to put faces in, but also to have a voice at the table on behalf of like not everybody in government can become a member, right? Or I guess they could, maybe they're hesitant, but I'm there and I try to be that person, that voice for the benefit of everyone, right? So at least I feel like I could be a representative voice on behalf of like local government, to getting our data out there and part of the ecosystem. So I sit on some of these task forces, like the addressing task force. We've gone through and we picked up a lot of data, and these are like on the backs of some of these large national programs like the National Address Database. They've tried to go about it. We've had conversations and meetings with them and understood their challenges. And Overture's been able to kind of do a lot of this heavy lifting with some of the brilliant engineers that work at Overture, like to make it happen. So it's really cool. It's amazing that it's happening.
I'm so glad to hear
I want to
that.
back up just a little bit and
sorry.
explain that. Oh no!
Oh, good.
No,
Oh,
don't
all
apologize.
right.
So what Ryan is describing is the experience of being a member of
True.
Overture, where you're seeing all of this collaboration, often messy collaboration across task forces, working groups. But from an outsider's perspective, Overture is an organization that produces monthly global data sets that are free and open. It's interesting navigating free data with government organizations because free doesn't always fit in with people's procurement or billing processes. And we're also building this ID system, unique ID system for every entity in the world. That sounds a little too ambitious. Every entity that ends up in our base map data will have an ID, a unique UUID that we keep stable from release to release. So these are the products that Overture puts out into the world monthly. But on the inside, there's an awful lot of collaboration and debate and decision-making that takes place to figure out what features we're going to prioritize. If we're going to introduce a new data set, does this make sense for Overture, our members, our users? What are the licensing implications? Maybe someone wants to add some weird property to our schema and everyone else on the committee says, no, that's just bloating the schema and it makes it more complicated for users. So there's quite a difference between what happens internally and then the actual data products that people see us produce from month to month.
Thank you so much for mentioning that.
No, that's great.
Yeah. I actually wanted to ask Dana to talk a little bit more about like the collaboration, because we talked about Overture right now has like close to 50 member organizations. So it's a very complex organization. We have these representatives from like public sector, private sector, nonprofit, like everyone's sitting in the same room. And in theory, it sounds great, the collaboration, everyone has a voice. And then in practice, like how does Overture make sure this collaboration is successful? How does it look like on a day-to-day basis?
So the great thing about being within a foundation structure and operating under the umbrella of the Linux Foundation is that Linux provides all of these governance structures for corporate, public, nonprofit collaboration. So we have a rule book for how to make a playbook, rather, for how to make decisions, who gets to vote on major changes to the data products, who can come to the table with a new idea and have it entertained by all of the engineers working on the project. So you might think, what a mess. You have companies that in other parts of their work are actually competing with each other. But that's not what it looks like on the inside. Not only do we have these guidelines for how to operate and behave, but the individual engineers working on the project are really coming to it in good faith. You know, it's a privilege to work on a project where you get to collaborate across so many companies, where your work is published as open data for the world to see, and to be able to point to that, say, this is what I'm doing. My work is not buried deeply inside a private company where it will never see the light of day.
That sounds incredibly interesting. So I want to rewind just a little bit.
Yes.
To talk about, so one of the goals of Overture is to become the de facto standard for data exchange. We have this platform. We also have this ID system, global entity reference system that you just mentioned, in order to deliver on that goals. So I think it's incredibly important for different industry players to be in the same room, so we can all get access to each other, so we know like what's happening on your side of the house, to make sure that the data works for people, and then it speaks to the people, speaks to the challenges, solve the problems that we're facing, and also to help us to deliver whatever we need to do.
It's not perfect, the collaboration. I mean, we do prioritize the needs of the big companies who founded Overture, who are contributing the most money, and who have votes about how we're going to proceed. So their requests, desires take precedence over almost everyone else's. And we have heard from some of the smaller players within Overture that it can be hard to keep up. But that's not because anyone or any individual is trying to shut them out. It's just part of the nature of our work. And we've tried to create opportunities and spaces for anyone to come to these task force meetings, share an idea about what they might want to contribute to the schema, for example, and then make that work. And from what I've seen, a 5-person company can propose something really clever and innovative at a task force meeting. And engineers from Amazon, Meta, Microsoft will absolutely take that idea seriously. And I think, Ryan, I think you've experienced this. I know you come to task force meetings across the board. Do you feel like you could contribute an idea or any thoughts about the direction?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, I feel like I have an equal, part at the table in any one of these task force. I don't always have like the most exciting ideas, but I have to.
Ryan asks great questions. I feel like he really nudges people in one direction or the other with his questions.
I do try to influence a lot, because it's like, I get how valuable it will be for us govies, I'll call it. Yeah, because obviously there's perspectives that these larger companies have, and I'm there to try to be the voice for us govies. But yeah, no, I mean, being at the addressing task force, it's like internally always in my mind, I'm looking at like national standards that are coming along, and how can Overture kind of help push us in a direction that I could tell that story. Is like, look at how exciting this is, that this GERS thing is coming in. It's introducing stability to this ever-changing world, that we're living in. And I think each one of these programs that are happening, at least in the United States, they're all kind of basing around some type of GERS ID, some agreed upon schema. it's happening right here in Overture. So that's where it's like this work's already being done. So for me, it's spelling some relief from the burden that we feel in local government, but also my colleagues at state and federal level, right? That it's like, listen, we could kind of lean on these giants to do a lot of the heavy lift for us, and then we're just attaching our data. We're not having to worry about the maintenance as much. We could focus on the solutions to our problems in government, right? Mapping is such a huge part of running government and representing people in government. You know, if you're, like I say, you're not on the map, you're not easily represented. So, or saved, you know, in an emergency situations too. So, and that's not important just in the United States, that's important globally.
Yes.
So yeah, that's always my interest when I'm sitting in these meetings, and individually, you know, I think on the transportation task force, they've created some Fresno County projects, and you know, and with Fresno County in the name, and you know, trying to push those things. So it's great to be like to know that I'm like, yeah, I'm having some influence, and it's just great. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, you can tell by my excitement, right?
So, question? You go first.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I'm having trouble hearing
Oh.
the way the sound's carrying. So if I'm giving you kind of like a blank look and nodding.
Yeah, I was wondering what's going on over there.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. You know, one thing we might want to add is what we're doing here. Why are we at this
P3.
conference? How are
Exactly.
we trying to fit in or make connections with the teams here? And we've realized that we need to start asking folks here, where does the data that informs your project come from? On the public side, you know, it might be county level data, city level data, federal data. On the corporate side, the private side, in some cases, it seems like they're shelling out a lot of money to purchase data. And in some cases, it's proprietary. So there's a reason it costs a lot. In other cases, they might be able to get that data elsewhere, open source, public, and not necessarily pay thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars for it. All right, I'm running out of steam.
Yeah, no, like as it relates to P3, I mean,
Yeah.
in design, like, you know, finance projects, all that. It's the first question is always going to be the where, right? Where do these projects
where,
exist?
yep.
Overture has the where part, and the fact that it's on these monthly cycles, we're keeping the data freshness. I don't know how they're currently sourcing their data, but I don't know that there's a more valuable data set that exists because of the conflation that Overture does,
right?
And getting the best of breed data sources. I mean, it's important for these companies to use good data. So, you know, the conflation strategy that they have is next to none. And to answer these questions up front for a lot of these P3 organizations is what, you know, where's my project at and what's around it, and the places data enriches that. They're able to do this quick live analysis, and then some of these projects last for decades at a time. The map changes during those decades too, and monthly you're getting updated data, you know, through these Overture pipelines, and you're able to see how things are affected around these current projects or how they might change over time. And so it's an invaluable tool that I think that's what we're here is trying to explain. That story is your project's going to be as good as the data that you have to start with, right? The foundation stuff. Overture is the foundation in that. And I think that's like the story that we need to tell. And my government partners here, they know, especially these state and federal partners, they understand how hard it is to get data, even from us at the local level. It's a huge challenge, and it shouldn't be, right?
Right.
So that's where I see that this value is coming in from this, and it's going to help guide our P3 partners here, like through this whole life cycle.
I think we should cut there.
Yeah.
I think that's an excellent ending.
Yeah, that is an excellent answer. Yeah. So, one last question for both of you. Like, Ryan can talk about from a member's perspective, from public sector's perspective, and maybe Dana can talk a little bit about from the Overture as a foundation's perspective. So, what are the values of like public sectors getting involved in this project?
Yeah, it's the value is so each of us right now are working on these national programs, state and national programs, where they're asking us for our data. Well, all of us are individual counties and cities, and we all have these different schemas, um, and it's hard. We're all understaffed, to work on these particular programs that we might not get funded for, but they're required by us, from the state. So it puts a lot of burden and challenges on the local level, but even up the chain. I can't say that it's not true for the state. My state friends, in the state of California, I mean, their GIO, the Geographic Information Officer, his office is 3 people that is in charge of handling the entire geospatial infrastructure for the state of California. I mean, not in its entirety, but that's their responsibility, right? They reach out to their other partners, and the same is true when we talk with our friends at the National Address Database. There's a team of 2 or 3, I think, that is in charge of this national program to collect addresses for the United States, and it's a heavy lift for each one of us, and we all have our own interests, right? When it comes to this data, and being able to rely on Overture, and then have a place at the table to kind of help me maybe solve these problems on behalf of my government colleagues, it's great. And I think everyone is seeing that. I have to tell the story a lot, of course, because it's new to us, right? I mean, Overture hasn't been around for all that long, but it's solving one of probably the biggest problems that we've had since WebGIS in government, right?
That's going back.
Yeah.
I've had some interesting conversations here with consultants and small companies about all the time and energy they put into piecing together buildings data sets or parcel data sets. And as Ryan was saying, this is one of the huge things that Overture does. This is where Overture brings a lot of value. We've created these shared data pipelines where we're doing that hard work of conflating different data sources and making some decisions about which building, if we have 3, 4 representations of that building to choose from, we're going to put in our final release. And that's a really hard problem to solve in geospatial, and we're tackling it. The big companies benefit from that for sure, but smaller companies are as well, and certainly our government partners. I think it's one of the most powerful things that we're offering as an organization.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the great conversation.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for
Thanks,
taking
Nora.
the time.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.